Congressman Paul, what's the biggest obstacle standing in the way of improving education in the United States, and how would you address it?
Probably the federal government. We've been involved at the federal level for over 50 years. We've had a Department of Education. It used to be the policy of the Republican Party to get rid of the Department of Education. We finally get in charge and a chance to do something, so we doubled the size of the Department of Education, and we have no child left behind. The teachers don't like it, the students don't like it, and the quality of education hasn't gone up. The cost of education has gone up. So we need to look to our local resources. We need to release the creative energy of the teachers at the local level, but what we can do immediately is to give tax credits. I have a bill that would give tax credits to the teachers to raise their salaries. At the same time, we should encourage homeschooling and private schooling and let the individuals write that off. The parents have to get control of the education. It used to be parents had control of education through local school boards. Today, it's the judicial system and the executive branch of government, the bureaucracy that controls things. And it would be predictable that the quality would go down. The money goes to the bureaucrats and not to the educational system at home.
Thank you. Senator Thompson, how would you answer that?
The question was, what's the biggest impediment to education?
What is the biggest obstacle standing in the way, and how would you address it?
The biggest obstacle, in my opinion, is the National Education Association, the NEA. I read time and time again, every time someone wants to inject a little choice into the equation for the benefit of the kids, inject a little freedom, inject a little competition, because we're not exactly doing that well because of the things that you pointed out earlier. The NEA is there to oppose it and bring in millions and millions of dollars to go on television and work and scare people and misrepresent the situation on the ground. I think that just goes against everything that we know that can make progress in this country. We're a nation of freedom and innovation and choice. And well-to-do people are out in the suburbs. They don't seem to care that much. Inner city people need a chance to enjoy the choice that the mayor's talking about for colleges and universities. Other people have choice too. If they're wealthy enough to move into a neighborhood because they want their kid to go to school there, that's choice too. Let's give it to everybody else, and let's stop people from standing in the way of that.
Thank you. Congressman Tancredo, what's your take on all that?
Yeah, I had the opportunity to serve under Ronald Reagan as the regional director for the U.S. Department of Education. Our task was to try to narrow it down because we knew we couldn't legislatively get rid of it, although we wanted to. And so I went, in my region, we went from about 222 people. It took us about 4 or 5 years to get down to about 60 people. I used to always say, we've gotten rid of 80% of the people in this department. Has anybody been able to tell the difference? And you know what? Not a single soul said they had. And something else, if we had gone to 0, you'd never know the difference. That's because we don't need the department. It's an encumbrance on our attempt to actually teach children in this country, as is the federal government and its intervention and its rules. But you can't, I don't think, Governor, with all due respect, you can't say on one hand you're against having government intervention, and on the other hand, tell us that you want music and art and everything else in the school. That's not the job of a president. It is the job of a governor. That's what you should run for if you want to dictate curriculum.
Governor Huckabee, would you like a rebuttal? You have 30 seconds.
Well, I made very clear to the congressman that what I suggested was that the federal government become the clearinghouse. It shows the best ideas. I was a governor 10 and a half years. I had executive experience longer than anyone on this stage running a government. And I had also the most, I think, impressive education record. And you know what? I looked for what other states were doing that worked. I was looking for all the ideas. We raised standards, we measured, and we held people accountable for the results. Anytime you give governors the opportunity to know what will work, they'll use it because it means jobs, it means economic development. That's exactly the only role. But if anyone doubts that the president ought not to use the bully pulpit to encourage the best practices, I would say the second most job of importance to the president, second to being commander-in-chief, is to be the communicator-in-chief. And we're losing a lot of kids in this country. A third don't graduate. For a president to say that's none of my business, it's recklessly irresponsible. A president needs to say it's unacceptable that many kids leave our schools every single day.
That's a fine statement.
Okay, Governor Romney.
It just wanted a small adjustment to what Governor Huckabee had to say, and I don't believe you had the finest record of any governor in America in education. And because there's another one on the stand whose kids outperform me. The kids in our state, as I indicated, scored #1 in all 4 measures on the national exams, and they did that because of Republican principles, free market principles applied, and there was a partnership. You see, education is not just the teachers' union. I agree with Senator Thompson on that. boy, they've been the biggest obstacle to change in education and choice. It's not just the one side of this, it's teachers, it's parents, it's the state, it's the federal government, it's all levels coming together and working together for the benefit of our kids. And we face right now an education challenge that's really unusual. We're behind. America's behind in education. Our kids score in the bottom 10 or 25% in exams around the world among major industrial nations. And we've got to have the kind of change that requires all of us working together, not just poking and saying it's someone else's job.
Thank you.